brings us to our final item, 10.9.
I have his slides.
Is our Economic Development Program quarterly reports.
Of the year, which would be January through March. Very quickly, a number of the things that you see on activity-wise are well known, but they did occur in the first quarter, most notably the openings of the DSW and the Walmart. The DSW is doing land, office, business. We also have the Falls Event Centers under construction and also have had an increase in subdivision activity. According to Taro, there are at least 4 subdivisions that are actively going into reopening mode. 2 of them actually are cutting dirt right now here in the second quarter. You heard a third conversation tonight on your agenda about a third of those subdivisions, and then there's a 4th one out there looking to get into construction also in the second quarter. Of course, we all Fresh Market and Steinmart are moving into the old vacated Save Mart facility at Laguna Crossroads, and Hobby Lobby is moving forward in Marketplace 99. 2 of those entities, both the Steinmart and the Hobby Lobby, were items, prospects that we had been pursuing, and it's great to see them come about in town. We have, again, our Tier 1, 2, and 3 firms. This is the inquiries we had in the first quarter. Most of those Tier 1 and Tier 2s came from my attendance at the Medical Devices and Manufacturing Trade Show down in Anaheim, along with a couple of partnerships that we may be looking at in terms of workforce development related to those. We see here we work with 8 prospects over that period of time that are current or prospective businesses. We also hosted briefly a delegation that was here from China that were looking to make contact with various vocational education as well as waste to energy companies. We also were scouting locations, and we have drafted an RFP that was out and has now closed relative to the ice rink potential for 2013. We'll be bringing those information back to you in our next quarterly report. We also continue to work with the Elk Grove EDC. Specifically, we did have an event where the EDC hosted the CEO for Frontier Communications, Ms. Maggie Wilderot, and that got a chance to meet her, and she's very excited, spoke very, very highly that day of the relationship she has with the city of Elk Grove. Continuing our marketing efforts, you see the various entities that we work with both at a regional and the national level, and devices misspelled. Sorry about that. Very exciting. We did run some new banner ads on a couple of websites. The Sacramento Business Journal one is I'm extremely excited about. That's actually getting a view rate of about 3 times the national average. We have, they were ecstatic. They said, we've never seen this before. And by that, it's not just people looking at the ad, it's actually clicking through on the Elk Grove ad, which takes you to the Elk Grove Economic Development webpage. So these are actual prospects looking at that, wondering what that is, and ending up on the Elk Grove website and learning about our community. So that was a very good investment. We're also on the Medical Devices Daily website to pick up our medical community out there. The charts that you're going to see now, this is, again, the office vacancy rate continues to decline. We're continuing to see absorption in space. And that just bodes well, continues your goal and your emphasis in terms of the Southeast policy area as we look at the business park development down there. We're going to need that space. From a retail standpoint, we're also seeing things go in the right direction, as in more spaces being occupied. I did have a conversation with one of the real estate houses who said now that if you look at the 2 corridors, main commercial corridors in Elk Grove, which would be Elk Grove Boulevard and Laguna, right now the going rate for space is second only in terms of cost. That's been creeping up. It is second only to the commercial space being demanded around the Roseville Galleria. And so that is an indication of the popularity and the desirability of retail space in Elk Grove. The industrial vacancy rate continues to held steady, just a slight dip over the last quarter, but we're still at a lower rate than vacancy rate in the Sacramento region. A lot of things that happen in the first quarter. You have a lot of people coming out with their various forecasts for the year. You saw in there, I went to River City Bank, had their forecasting session. This is coming out of the Center for Strategic Economic Research. That's the group that worked with us on the development of the marketing strategy and the economic development strategy. This is what they are looking forward in terms of job growth overall. And what I would point you to, if you look at, this is their forecast for the next year, you see that they're anticipating a definite growth in the manufacturing, in professional business services, and education and health services. These are areas that we are, of course, going after because we have that strong presence in our community already. They're anticipating more job growth in the coming year. So that's very, very rewarding. And to that end, I wanted to grab some information relative to the unemployment rate. And as I was racing to get that on the schedule and get it into this PowerPoint presentation, I skipped something. So what I would like you to do is this, from a scene from The Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the numbers at the bottom of the table, but look at the chart that I'm about to show you. Just look at the trend. The red line is Sacramento County, the blue line is Elk Grove. Unemployment is going down. Now, specifically where we're at right now, as of, and this comes from the state's Employment Development Department website, the current unemployment rate in Elk Grove is 5.8%. That's down from the high in 2010 of 9.2%. So we're definitely seeing a number of things moving in the right direction. Housing starts, space being leased up, seeing drops in unemployment rate. So the things, I think, from the economy standpoint are definitely showing the signs going in the right direction.
And isn't it true that a lot of people just ran out of benefits and stopped reporting on that?
I was about to say you do have that issue as well. So as I was racing to, as I said, this is very much a work in progress. I wanted to get some of these numbers out to you to see you're going to see that. Specifically, we're going to be, shall we say, buffering the numbers with details like that. Okay. So in that regard, we went to that. Here's another thing that's very, very excited to see. This is our housing permits. This is, you can see the chart at the bottom here. The trend for that is upward, and that number for through March of this year does not reflect any housing permits associated with the 4 subdivisions that I mentioned earlier. This is just permits that have actually been pulled through March of this year. We're still seeing that uptick going in the right direction in terms of our housing starts. We could see a dramatic increase depending upon how many of those housing permits actually get pulled related to these subdivisions. And this is just a picture. This is the one at Lots and Laguna Springs Road down near Cosumnes Oaks High School. Trade show season, we're still going on. I just came back from Bio International. I do apologize that this particular report, again, is about a month late. The night that I would have liked to have put this on, April 22nd, I was still in Chicago at the Bio International Trade Show. We have CalBio coming up, which is all the biotechnology companies in the state later this year, and then the International Asset Management Conference, which is going to be in the fall. We're continuing to work with the planning department and private parties relative to the Southeast Policy Area Business Park, and then we'll also be working with the city manager's office relative to the grant for the Union Pacific parcel in Old Town. Questions?
Questions for Randy?
Not a question, but just a statement. It bothers me not at all that this report is a little bit tardy. I'd much rather you're out there doing it than standing there telling us about what you did. So.
And also Heather is out going on. She's had the opportunity to go out to a couple more those activities. You remember the Meet the Site Selectors. She is very active in that regard of getting her out into the public and some of these events as well. But she's also meeting with a lot of business people. So again, it's a team effort.
So I'm going to open public comment and close it, but I do have some comments. Then okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm concerned that this economic report doesn't talk to speak to the issue of the loss of the Bel Air Market on Elk Grove Boulevard, right in the heart of Elk Grove. I think it's a significant loss for the city. Not one word about it in the report. I'd like to know what's going to happen there. I'd like to know, you're complaining that the report's tardy, and I'm thinking it's a non-report. It's what they want to do. They want to go to, medical equipment sales meetings and stuff, and it's like, wow, we lost a real resource right in the heart of of Old Elk Grove. So, and I happen to live there, so I'm real concerned about it myself. I just find that economic development really has nothing to do with jobs. It has everything to do with, I don't know, maybe the egos of the council or maybe the economic development department. Just what is going on at that location? How is it that we lost it? How did we lose something like that? When I was on the Community Planning Advisory Council 13 years ago, we were promised. The city was well, the city didn't exist, but before the city existed, and during that time, Redley's promised, we'll build out there, on Waterman and Elk Grove Boulevard, but we'll never shut down the other one. It makes too much money. It's too good a location, and it always was. So I don't understand how you could lose a grocery store there when everything was going for it, and it's a real hole in the center of the town.
It's Walmart and non-union grocery stores.
Walmart exists. That's true.
Non-union grocery stores.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. But at the same time, Rayleigh's is not completely out of business either. So, I think that's an oversimplification, Mr. Cooper. But I understand. I agree with you that that's unfair. But it is a race to the bottom. But it was doing well. There was a lot of traffic there. And that just baffles me how we could lose that. So what does the Economic Development Department really do for us? If it can't even get a grocery store where it was originally at. It was a great store, great customer service. A lot of the people who are at the Waterman store are the same employees, from the other store, and it was like, I look at them every time I see them, I say, too bad we lost that store, and they go, yep. And it's ridiculous, It's crazy. I can't even walk to that store. And I know, I've talked to you about it, Mr. Hume, and I know there's some improvements on their walkways and stuff to make it walkable, but that's where I go to, I try to go to the store, but, it's like I have to drive there now. It's crazy because it's too unsafe. People who live across the street in the apartment complex on the south side of Elk Grove Boulevard, just half a block away from that complex, are unsafe because there's, no walkway. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm disappointed in the report, to tell you the truth. Really. Demand more.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to close public comment. I'm going to go back to questions for Randy. So I didn't hear anything about the mall. Do you have an update on the promenade? Anything? Is there anything to report on the promenade?
The promenade, Howard Hughes was down at the ICSC event, and we are scheduled to have a conversation. They're coming back this week. We're scheduled to have a conversation with them on the Tuesday after Memorial Day, so it'll be next Tuesday.
So last year you were at ICSC. Did you go?
This year I did not go because of all the contacts we had last year. There were 2 people that were going to be there this year. And it did not seem like it was going to be a productive use of taxpayers' dollars to go down to meet with 2 people who I can pick up the phone and call.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to go on the record of disagreeing with that strategy. Look, the point is that we need to be more aggressive than Howard Hughes. And if we're sitting around waiting for Howard Hughes to take action, it's like waiting for molasses to roll down a hill. I think it's just we have got to continue. We started off with a strong strategy of reaching directly out to the retailers, proposing the site, and if we're not going to be consistent with that strategy, then we're not going to have success. So I think you were on the right track, but we got to get back on it. I think so. Look, if there's only 2 that were going to be there, then there are a lot of new ones that are there, and there's new retailers, and the retailers that are interested in growing should show up at that conference. Other things. So I think the Southeast policy area. We've taken the first step. I'm not going to say we've done our part because we've only taken the first step, right? So we have set up here that this is going to have an economic focus to it. What are we doing? And we've said, hey, we're going to set aside land and make sure that, look, this has got a good jobs to housing balance. But beyond that, what are we doing to ensure that plan comes to fruition? Because if we don't do that, then we're going to wait a few years and And they're going to be coming back, and they're going to be asking us to convert it to residential because it didn't work. And, we're going to have to be very hands-on. So can you explain what we're doing, how aggressive we're being, what the process is for engaging that area, and, frankly, the additional areas throughout the city that are zoned office? How are we working with landowners to help them bring employers to their site?
Well, I think that's a big reason that we go to the trade shows, is we're trying to get in touch with parties that are out, with businesses that are looking to expand. Tell them about Elk Grove. Tell them that we have properties available for them, and then maintain that discussion with them, sending them information. I had a conversation with a developer this afternoon, relative to what are those potential prospects that we've been working on since November of last year. Putting those parties together when the prospect says, yeah, I'd like to talk to one of your landowners about a specific situation here. Relative to the business park, a critical component to that is, as the council has identified that as a business and research center, is the relationship with higher education. So we have reached out. I've had an initial discussion and meeting with the head of technology transfer from UC Davis and gotten him involved in that whole conversation. He has expertise. He has been involved in the development of at least 2 business parks, research parks, particularly elements related to wet labs, research labs. So his experience and advice to us as we're going forward with whomever the developer might be is invaluable. We're also continuing to work with North State Medical School of Medicine and Pharmacy. They are anticipating having a research lab as part of their campus for their faculty to carry out research. That's a natural tie-in, again, with needing additional space once the technology gets out of the lab into more of a larger productive area. So those are things we're doing at the moment, but there's still a lot more that we have to do in terms of moving the plan forward. We have designated just color areas on a map. We haven't defined what that facility looks like, where it actually sits within that acreage. There's lots of conversations we still have to have with you, but we're not waiting for those. We're actually laying the groundwork now and getting the word out with the business community, both in the medical side, advanced manufacturing side, and also with education and clean energy, waste to energy companies to know that we're here. And that was a big part of what we did last year, was let people know that we were here. But certainly that's part of what this report is, to come back to all of you and get your direction of, Randy, do more in this area. Don't do as much here. Go down this road. Have we looked at that? That's a part of the reason this discussion takes place, that I put myself in front of you to give you that opportunity to say, how are we doing and what else could we be doing? And Randy, I think you should be doing this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and the opportunity to, come in front of us. It's a good accountability point. I think that the word is getting out, and that's been effective. I've run into people around the region all the time, and just all they say is, "Man, there's a lot going on in Elk Grove." They know that we're hungry for jobs, that we're focused on it. But I do think that, especially as things get busier, something like the Southeast Planning Policy Area, maybe we need, maybe you should just regularly meet with that ownership group, as that builds out. Just, maybe there's every other week or a monthly check-in, have coffee, whatever, just check in, because you're gonna find, they're trying to promote their site. Mm-hmm. We are trying to promote that site.
Right.
And I think a synergism between the two will help us get there faster and more efficiently. And and they've got expertise. You have expertise. We have others in the area with expertise, so maybe some sort of regular check-in might be a good idea.
I actually have 2 meetings with them next week, and so we'll be talking about can be some more regular get-togethers based upon that. So.
Okay, good, thank you. And I know that you've been talking to the owner of the site, where the old Bel Air is. So I do know that you've been doing that. So I know that wasn't in the report, but it should be pointed out that I know you've been having those conversations. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, the owner of the building's got to get a lease signed. Okay. Any other comments for Randy? All right. Thank you very much. Okay. And with that, we are adjourned for the night. See you in 2 weeks.